Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Vulture Peak Mountain with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, "How should a son of a lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom?" Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight and so on until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance and so on up to no old age and death and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate paragate parasam gate bodhi soha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, noble Avalokiteshvara, that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Sharadvatiputra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One.
Alright. Alright, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna do the chat and I check. And then rang it danger not got any line, temple to be on bola. And then long reggie be long rage and the lama not you got to get Jamie by check.
Let's begin by visualizing Buddha Shakyamuni before oneself. in the space who is surrounded by the lineage gurus of the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment.
다 된지 대다기 생활을 가서 가르치게 임배서와 내가 저 좋아지 소소를 좋아지 땅 아니 아 소소 세대면에야 지 배워이나 다다 벌어 로드를 지내 제다 마치 소소기 데보지보 지원나서네 메센데라 지 강라 강자 치서 강라 강자 지데 갈래 접어이나 아니 토마게 셈바테다 다다게 셈바니 인가들 데파치 존나서 비게 데피고라 대샤마도 아니 지로 데바도 진 레샤상인데 이 천안지 다다 진미도 가는 노이나 아사와 신주지잖아.
So now, being oneself in their presence, one is also surrounded by all other beings. And now, let's take a time to examine ourselves. What kind of state of mind that one may have at this point? What my state of mind is doing. So think about from the beginning of time up until now, we put an, we exert an effort to achieve happiness, longing to achieve happiness. But if we examine very carefully, are we really achieved the happiness that we long to achieve? The answer to this question is we have not. We have not really achieved the happiness that we long to achieve. And why that is happening? What has gone wrong? What is the why we haven't been able to achieve the happiness that we long to achieve up until now? So now just try to think about ourselves and look at our own mind and being in their presence, in the presence of the Buddhas and the great lineage gurus.
다치 노 메와이나 내가 저는 내가 공부해서 갈래르치 저 지존나서 내가 제바 존존와 아니 존세나 당가서 선대이 도고기 집어들지 있잖아 아주게 샘벌을 그려야 돼 집어려면도 그러와 먼저 샘벌을 그려야 돼 또지 도고다지 돼서 집어지 저는 초시는 게 지나다 아무데 미디어 계획이면 들어와 다 대전지나 다 대세디 얘네 홍보 되게 내다서지로와 베나 메소 폼바 델라 데비 컬러 메소치 콤바나 네사야나 데비 소리죠 콤바 델라 네사야비 컬러 아니 콤바 델라 게 마조아이나 네 소소 디기 되야서네 내가 치수 좋아되러와
So since we have not been able to achieve the happiness that we long to achieve, there's no some kind of satisfactions that you are thoroughly satisfied. And that is what I'm looking for, kind of happiness or the blissful experience that we have never experienced, although we long to have that kind of experience, which clearly indicates that something has gone wrong, where we are pursuing for happiness, but we haven't been able to achieve happiness. That something may have happened in between. Why that is happening? It is probably a way of thinking, might be, not in a proper way of, or we are not following our own desire and so on. So that something is not right here. So now, because when we talk about happiness, we're not talking about happiness just having as enough to eat and place to stay, shelter, clothing, and fooding alone. We are looking more than that. We all have this experience with that. We are doing that without a question. Why we are not very contented by what we have right now? Because we're looking for something more than that, which ultimately looking for happiness, which is the ultimate state of happiness or the genuine happiness. However, we are unable to find at this point.
Pumbo scenario, Nathan Yasati, Yurumade Chikamare, Kessi Cassima Cassi, Denalo Jamado, combating Nathan Yagmarit in a Pior. Nero, Ranshi, Chini, Kongubineti, Chinere, Pumba de la Nathan, Lojagan de to his second Jumar, Lojana, that the Diana Loja, the genius is wanted to sort of young. That didn't get on the combat in a period because line, cardo in Sana, Nindrongi, Sari, Samari said, Tangan Nambijon is ship again, and Pumbo de la Netsoyangi, now she, Joe Haman and Day, then a shaman drongi, and now she's saying Yuri Yomari. Guess it, Yana, and Day and Drotanchi Jackery Gomari. So, Majadalpa, Sinjay Shanchu send and he did catch up a usual. Ale, in there, Haman and Day, and then a shaman drongi, socially, Yasari, Samari. Yana dig down the sausage agree, their legend is such agree. There's a pound in a toilet.
So now think about that. We have this physical body that we have obtained. In other words, at this point, the human body that we all obtain. We have obtained this human body. But this body is like a guest house, where we will be remaining in this body, or we will be remaining with this physical aggregate for certain period of time. We all know that we will not be, in the back of our mind, we might believe that we will not separate ourselves from this say physical aggregate, but in reality, we have to separate from this body. So even if we can be a lasting kind of guest who can be abide in this physical aggregates, not more than 100 years. If there probably someone may, a few out of millions can live in this guest house for 110 years, 115 and so on, not more than that at all. We have to live. Everyone, there's no way, free from that. We all have to leave this body. But then when we're leaving this body, now, according to the Dharma, there is a consciousness that actually travels from one life to another life, right? So now it is not just limiting our understanding or believing only on the textual authority, or we just believe in what is the text said, but we should examine ourselves. Is there what so-called consciousness is there or not? If there is, then where this consciousness goes? Is there a way this consciousness goes, where this goes from this life to another life? If you think there's a consciousness that goes from one life to another life, then it is our responsibility to find a right way to travel our consciousness.
The somebody and Rani Yitin at Tang. And Rani Yitin the Tone, and it the Joshim and Rongi as you take it, the Sosa Majana told me do. The dog in the city as a combatant in Pisona, that's also Shulo de Sona de Masona, what in Nasa Jagum Chevra. That then I get you Sana Donnet, Joshim and Pendula Sana Chitan, and it did take a shower in it, Rani Zubi, and Socha Bisenchi and Roding in Chichilla. Call a so danger in Chichilla, so that's in the Rigano. That's sending in Chinchilla, and it didn't near down the Chiswing in Zane, that didn't also do but Denila, and it that the G gentle to connect Jabuena, when Sanji Sumana, you tend to divide it higher than a manner. Kiss it and retire another, then when it and drink it down the Chambochita Madrina, and then Kayan would have sung in Rigi Jensenta debutant, Shabala Twaji to Ayana. Digi debate huge temporary Tanja temporary said, and it was on noble soye in it, Lakacheton, Jebachene, and his son and Juaton had it, that on and Juicy there is a lot. And Drigi, Jesus on a Giaton and Amaton, Sambal of Swale, and the line, Gamani, Jimmy Bachinda.
So if there is a life after death, where the consciousness can take a birth, then it is our responsibility to find a right place to take a rebirth. Because as I mentioned earlier, our body is like a guest house. If we are out of this guest house, then we need to find a place where we can stay, isn't it? In the same part, so when we leave this the current body that we have, and then consciousness will look for a body where they can enter and become a person. So we need to find a way that consciousness can enter and have a meaningful rebirth. This is our responsibility. So not only that, then think about not only ourselves, like all other sentient beings, down to insects. They all go through the same process. And they all go to same process. And how do we then not only this to find the happiness for ourselves, but how do I be the responsibility? I will be the responsible for establishing other sentient beings to the state of enlightenment or the ultimate state of happiness, as it mentioned in the teachings of the Buddha. So if we examine this way carefully, this is the way of examining the sharp faculty, the way of examining the sharp faculty individual, in other words. And with such examining, so with such, analysis, if one is able to generate a faith or devotion, then that faith will be so stable that which is irreversible faith that one can establish. In other words, the faith that is generated on the basis of analytical process. So let's take a couple of minutes to meditate on this.
다 되게 얘네 강견을 쳐받치잖아요. 가슴 바시 있잖아요. 네 상조랑저리 바스지. 다중에 시마타바나 얘기 타나지는 주고야나. 타나지 세상 로거나. 아니 된저게 타나 땡에기. 네 좋은데. 다 되는 하지 내서나. 문제가 맹게 상조랑저리.
With these motivations, we are now beginning to discussing on the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment, which is the path to liberations. If there is a navigators that navigates oneself to the state of liberations, and this is the navigator, the path of the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment is the great navigators where it can navigate us to the state of liberation.
tenriki pida inbagi chola kong kariya sasona, ane ngala kong yu, ane nge yi jib tenchen tsayi lama ne zonde daja tenpa shaja tubi baji, ane langde shichi malo ba tene, tente dewa nyinge, ane inbagi nga sola panda yu yes.
So the reason why this is an authentic navigator, or the perfect navigator to navigate us to the state of liberation, is because the great beings, beginning from Buddha all the way to one's own root guru, they are all depending on this navigators and navigated by this and achieved state of liberations or enlightenment.
ane tenre tenwa na songsha na tenong la tenda kare tensha sana ane nga song nima chi yin rocha nindu ne zonde ane sengi tenji dewa mata chi pata ane koren mano ane chi karsa ta nga song yana karsa kore machu pata mano wa chanso dri shangi ni yung senji res.
So this is the deities or the texts, the Dharma texts, that can teach us to practice from one's own ordinary life, the day-to-day ordinary life, all the way to the state of enlightenment in a very orderly manner and unmistakably.
Tenriki mano da ane machu ba dri shangi de ane sosogi ane lanle tu na kandachi togore ane lanle tu na kesong kariyere sesona ane thoma lanle tu bikala ane sosogi ane mahirwe de na kilo mano ache na ane yen la chigi yenare yen la shigi yenare tenriki mano ito na sambal hueshi jene ane yongde la ma gashi troshin de mala ane koren mato achila sosogi jungen chiyena 아니 뭐네 지 때도 대화터바다 간시다 챈들 뭐 예. 생라 되지데 sembal로부터 야자자서 토에 된 아주 냐뉴여레서.
So then how do we, if this is the authentic navigators, and how do we follow this navigator? What kind of practice that is required for our practice that are required to to follow these navigators? So in the beginning here, one should think of one should begin to think of one's own self, and by going through and roughly going through the proper order of these deities, the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment, the proper order by chapter. And with this process will give you a sense of ease or the peace of mind, whether we will be able to achieve liberation by relying upon that or not. But it is certain that when you are actually going through this text with the positive motivations, with a good intention, it really gives us some kind of peace of mind that is that I can say from my own experience.
나 텐드지 용화를 가르거래요. 서서나 아니 텐드게 빼서 사치 버려서나 소소 라파 해봐 사지 팽거 말이 아니 동보 대만노와 대얘기 개개 세당 대바지 대고를 비게 개개한테 세냐라 예매 개자 말이 바지 맞소에나지 오늘 가서 가서 가는 장도기 실현이 되셔 봐시제 나도人家도 된다 대세 게 많이 나요. 한얘기 더 놀러라 나만와 대통령이 지금 예바도 뒤손 뒤서 대고다. 이제다 보면요. Rajuna, Shironi to shop a shishi, the non the ringing and the dental dending. Then the tricky again, General Channel, to Sanji more the chipare. You did it till soon to sell. Kiss it to Manawa in I am. Sonia set up Dembachi, Lamano, there to me, and Kazachil Tango, but long, the Sulan Judin, nearby the go. Labatangaso, Tanji Tawa cases on nearby to the Rigan, set up the again the Macho is on Shera Nigachimo, Galak, Sejana, to them at have a cigarette.
So now, just having this text, the Lam Rim text with oneself, and just by reading this alone, it's not sufficient, regardless of how precious and how valuable this text may be. It requires a qualified teacher who can teach us unmistakably and in a proper sequence or in an orderly manner. If possible, at best, one should have as a spiritual teacher who teach these great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment, like someone who has this appearance of subdued and peaced, like a Shabaka, and internally someone who has this experiences of two stages, again, the perfection of two stages. If possible, one should have this kind of teacher. If that is not possible, whether that doesn't matter whether the individual, the teacher is famous or very well known or renowned, but the most important point here is we need to have someone who can really teach us correctly in an orderly manner. That is very, very important. Otherwise, without the teacher, without having experience and without having qualification to give these teachings, then regardless of how much effort that we may put forth, it will all become fruitless. Our effort becomes fruitless. Sorry.
Taking it on the say such a jet, Tama, you say such a niba, and then launches our senior team between then a lot of Taja in Ribasi, the Angela Tangitan and Etidisha, just on Peter London, bit Taran Royal.
So, with this general introduction or the explanation that I've given, actually covers the first, second, and third outlines. First and second outlines of this Lam Rim, and then the third outline is how to listen to the teachings in which that both teachings and its authors are great, and how to rely on the teachers, which is the root of path, and how the students then train their mind, having relied on the teacher. Relied on teachers. So, yeah.
Telling us to Tama de jail on the Trottany and the Zangishu, Mandona, Medio, Casamato, Jadayana, Lama Tenuminity, Tau Capitani Sona, and Tamatella Turkey should reach Jen Jadayana, Sonja Longa, Lama Sedatina, and a Tomboco John Chemeti, and a Nanu Tonashi, and a Tamatella, and a Labano Hide, which did do Seredas and a Gene, and the Driginia. Tachibutamba said that Demutina, and a bet sociology when a chronology to the dual and singing. Logic to the share never Yambo, and somebody was saying a major shopping at the Ontario, Chicansas on the Shana Gamasho, and Yanchi Tandaram, and the Yenama to do some do singing, and it's hot to me. And Jibutamba to go to soda again, said
So, given this is our last teachings for this teaching session, I will not go through the text much. I'll go through some. I will, take my time to explain whatever the teachings, whatever the discussions that we have discussed during our previous discussions, and so then try to summarize the teachings, whatever the teachings that we have discussed, because this is a way that how the authentic teachers have taught. And it is said that when the teacher who is really qualified to do these teachings, he or she will first go through the explanations, overall explanations, and then at the end of this explanation, the teacher will then summarize the meaning of that explanations, and as if that it is actually handing something that substantially handing you from the teacher's hand to the follower's hand. So this is how much the great teachers who actually give the teachings, teacher who actually have the experience.
다 랑지 자신이 예발에 니지 랑지 자신이 데비스다 때는 로지다 장이 바 니지 게 다지로 때로 비게자 때는 로지다 장이 바 때로 로지 제유미가라 아니 배상노는 소문데 단 단다마서 챈데기제 단 데네 저와 심만네 아니 야 데질로에게 다시 간데 동거래 셰바네 아니 물르비 손주기 말로지 봐도 아니 만나와 대상에데 아니 가서 때는 로치다 장이 좀 발생들이.
So when it comes to the outline of how the students train their mind after having relied on teacher, under this headlines or under these outlines explains the teachings of the entire teachings of the great teachers on the stages of path to enlightenment, beginning from the teachings beginning from finding a method or skillful means of achieving happiness, all the way to the state of normal learning, which is the state of enlightenment, unmistakably in a proper way, in an orderly manner.
Tendrue che nga zu bosho no shenge na na chen chambo de ne jewa shima ne me yi la de me yi le ten ta ba ne zo de son ju je ma da ba de jong de yi je shi ten da jo as da de ma de so na ji bu son je lang je ma no de sha ya ro as ne ba yin sha sha de je ro ba ba de me ba ne lo tu nge cha na ne la re chmo ye ne de la ji ka sa ju de cha de da de je ro ma ne chen na tendrue bosho she tu nge cha bu.
So we should be, by following the teachings of the Lam Rim, the great teachers in the stage of the path enlightenment, we should become an expert in be able to explain what Lam Rim actually teaches. We can come up with this answer, readily by saying that such text actually contains teachings from how to attain, a higher state of rebirth, all the way, beginning from high state of rebirth, all the way to the state of unity. In other words, it actually encapsulates the three trainings of the three persons: middling, small, great practitioners, person of practitioners, and so forth. And this we should be able to tell this. We should learn ourselves how to become an expert, to be able to explain as soon as we think about the great teachers on the stages of the path to enlightenment.
Ani jubeson ge tanda koro ngawa senere tseni koro shola kanare de macho tunge chena ani kanshi to ne kanda ge ani koyi dewa tanda rani de jubete ne tamashe se ro de ko shola kanare shenda ma lo ne ma chi cho tunge de chana mane boba de jero ma zo lo dro bobe no zo de se boba de ji ma je ge kecha mare ro ani so zo ji ye han de ji 아니 시지 뒤비토네 라니를 든세니기 바바지 가서 설레는 거래 라니 밤에 쉬기다다.
So we should have confidence in summarizing the teachings of the Lam Rim, the great teachings on the stage of the path to enlightenment, beginning from the small, the practice of the small scope, medium scope, and the great scope. We should be able to go through it, or we should be able to explain right away as soon as you think about the great teachings on the stage of the path to enlightenment, very confidently. We're not talking about that we should be so proud. We should have a pride of knowing that, but we should have a confidence, to be able to summarize the teachings of the great teachers and the teachings of the path to enlightenment as a followers of the teachings of the Lam Rim Chenmo.
Dati kasa tena lori nichi, di tena nipo limbi shukuwa da nipo cheta limbi tsuyeji, nipo cheta limbi tsula ni nanchi na jala nipa cheta da nipo limbi ngochi, nipo limbi ngola song, jubi chunga da timo na, jubi nrinda timo na, jubi chenpyo na jiri ma nyasa limbi tsuyeji, tamala song, shan techen na jubi go senje kwana denpa, sente cheta jubi tsuyu, senje na sheba lo tsuyeji, da tombo nindriza, da senje na sheba lo tsuyu song, senje na loba lo gubi jensai, loba re re Sanje Mandru, Hoba Lobe Rimbaji Sheba, Hoba Lobe Rimbaji Sheba, Teba Chimba Chola Lozeda, Cheba the Doji Teba Lazi, Tombola Song, Shansen Lava Londe, Janet Jasej, Dambazon, Zone Chetalin Bitsuage, Tatomoni Dita, the Zone Chetalin Bitsula Song, Kana Lobby, Telaban, Tela Lobby Rimbaji, Tela Chetalobi Rimbaji, the Tela Chetalobi Rimani. Shubachilla Chiba the Pasha Tamani Lotzi, Atomarita. The Pasha Tamani Lotilla, true, Chanel Lato in Piashiba, anything in the country this year, Chanel Lato Road the Yawa, then you go Congo Bijan, Koring about social lotzi, Tamatich, that social lotilla, Chanel Lato Lotzi, Tomarita, Talaton Lotilla, so Laton the Totemba, Laton the Rob the Yawa, and Lato Gambit, Gambel Laton Rubit, da tombola song je chang da ni de ju so ra ma zo lu ju ju gomba de be chit de ju an de khona ni de la ba ji de tamala song de ni de khona ni la ju be ba de khona de la ba ma ji de khona ni de la ba ni ga jang mo so da de tarang ga lu xie ba ne lu xie ba ji 동반이 다와 되는 거 봐지. 얘는 동벌어서 가장 먼저 그 비전세 얼마서 비라로 신로 가봐. 근데 라로 잡아서. 다만 저기 다 단행해로 게 바로 맞지. 바로 맞지 되게 걸라네. 참 가르치려 해비 걸라 다다 따와 걸은 조거를 개체생에 지나 도망가서 내리자다. 아니 년종이 다다면서 동부 장로기 센터를 장로기 댕기바로를 댕기바 제서 근데 장로기 댕기바치 조소나 아니 가르를 수기 짜고래 살아요를 거라 추억이 짜고래 추억 가래 짜고서나 아니 로바송이 라니 짜고래 로바송 뭐 가야로 가생한테 매혼에 질러로 알레 동태서 동태지 나가자다 아니 야 당연히 this truth라 또 도망가니도 추억에 림바치 시에다 도망가서 단징에 라바나 이게 추억을 주비 림바다는 것이 다른 가서 가게 사자 가시워서는 돈이도 하통권에 시워 돈이도 하통이 강비 체계 뒤에도 제단 저와이나 제단도 로기 림바 가스레비 걸라 강고래서 라와이나 아스라다 그러니까 또 미네 다지 지어도 뭐지도
이제 단지 대개 테스트 속으로 연계돼 있는데.
당가전데야. 단당가서 대 나래 제목이 단당가 거스거 법안가서 아니 돈이 도베 다 하통이거 당가 저단 하통시비 걸래래 사자다. 하통시비 거들라 돈이 도베 하통 강버데 토마데 강네 리그리 강비기 세 가시 그래 살나 라와이나 도망가서 로네 방슈슈지다.
So we're on as we all know, we're on the discussions of the chapter that teaches about how to practice Lakdong or the special insight, right? So now, if this is so, then when when will we actually, what is the appropriate time for us to actually engage in this particular practice? So this is the first question that we should ask ourselves. That's all.
당가서 동보 가는 당당가서 내내 대비걸 당가서 그 동보 터 가르세 그래 아니 저시만 저의 터대 장로 저시만 저의 터기 장로 거래 내가 저거 배선 거 주대 다가와 장로 거 나오네 장로 가르쳐 그래서서나 아니 로바 송요 노는 수정이 로바 되게 저시만 저 그래 당가 총을 단다 걸을 가르쳐서서나 아니 수정이 강라 강자지 가서 추기 지선 중에 때 제는 지그린 지금 말에 아니 내가 여러 말에 세능이 리치 인치제라 수정 비다고 배지 자체 된적 가는 여래다 되게 저시만 내로를 저 그래.
So now, such practice, the practice of Lakdong, so prior to, in other words, the prior to engaging in the practice of this special insight, what we need to know, first of all, is to now we need to think about our life, this life, and the future life, and particularly the life or the future life. One should put more significance and the regard to one's own future life. So now, if this is the case, then who will actually protect us when it comes to the future life? It is our practice of morality. So the practice of morality is, or the observation of ethical discipline, is the one that becomes a cause for protecting and ensuring our, rebirth within the high realms. That's all.
kasi 맞아 그거 진행제 다 멤버에 다 맞아 그런 쪽에 멤버에 다 간제 로체를 마대와이나 카투 러시아를 생기지 가서 멤버들만 도산도에 봐 여러지서 아니 내가 콜을 이제 뭐네 전에 다다 있던 제사샤다 그나 그런 가투고서로 통글로 그도사 내가 단에 제 아니게 그 게다 트레이드 걸은 이제 선급에 탄다도 그런 거 유튜브도 강같이 러기도 아니 게 그래서 남아서 저쪽에 단다다 선바도 강의자는 세보시 위지 되듯이 샤보 시간치다 내가 야도마도 배치 내가 저기 단단에 라던의 추진다 최표사 말했어요. 되게 그런 게 러예 아니 가서 배제처럼 풍부될 된적이 신나도 신나게 제가 말해요. 맞아 다니게 러와나 이게 가서 뒤 콤바되는 내서야는데 대셔야 쇼로는 러는 저런 배제 연거타와도 배제가 저기 땡큐러도 그래 가르잖아 내가 저 지단 정으로 저기 가되는 콜레지 맞아 가서 아니 뭐저데 포바신의 지금 뭐네 just 좀 태사면서 송거래다 아니 맞아 용의 계시시와이나 뭐뒤에는 수준내지 매서야지 아니 뭐도 맞아 뭐네 전에 그 집에 두어지면 이게 좀 수준 가나 간자지 송야래 되게 저런 적으래 태사 야말에서는 했던 게 러시아인 봐 때문에 저기 차우지 정도 다 수준이 적고이나 당가중에 대전에 무슨이 말로 봐 여러서는 맞아 야타져 송야로 근데 전에 맞아 가가 수준이 세대의 저하심하던 연로를 배제자도가 되면서 다 제도한다고 그래. 아니 다 대상주 조마시 다 가르쳐 버렸잖아. 아니 야도 코아되는 지발이 딱 연중 제고.
그렇죠. 이제 다게한테 내가 날려 꼭 가르쳐셔서는 바람직. 테니스 먼저 돈도 선배.
자다 코노 차차디 다 다다게 다 코노 롤 때는 마도 다시 문도 selag도.
로래.
롤 당가서 롤 메신 텐샤는 싫어도.
let's我是去选的let's
메신 때 메신 롤 마데나 다 메신 도 텐샤나 고쇼를 선다 다다게 그 타지서시. 아니 나는 이게 자다 자다들 해도 아니 게 단단히 내다도 시바 코로나 네발라도 알로 네발 보유 샤제자도 그러지
그래서 ventilation 레벨
자다 질 me roger sin pen hon do zada de na de
that's
to ka se
Some
to ne
they show they go they are Ming Chi get on the law, the Ming thing is lot Mala. Prince like Kim go to.
ale mar te te ga sa de de ko pom meta dong do nga de do ra ma so
Ventilation Rava.
ventilation.
Loss. So a couple of days ago, I had an opportunity to meet one of the patients who was about to pass away, and he was on ventilation and at the hospital, and his relatives were saying that the doctor has given a very short, for him to live. So if they take out the ventilation, then he will be passed away. But then the patient had a strong desire to see me. He wanted to see me. And I had, I took my time and just to see him. And I saw him, and when I speak to him, he kind of understands what I'm saying. And it was just responding whenever I say something. And then I just told him, well, if he still can live, 4 or 5 days, because he is still conscious. He hasn't lost his consciousness and so on. He's still that understand what I'm saying because he's responding when I speak to him. And then I advise him by saying that you don't think about your physical body and this present physical body. This is just our guest house. This is my advice to him. Everyone, we all have to leave one day this guest house, and we are all subject to leave this guest house behind and travel all by oneself. But one thing that I can guarantee you, that I can assure you, is that we as followers of the teachings of the Buddha, we have actually observed quite a amount of the ethical disciplines. We lived our life ethically sound. So long as we have lived our life ethically sound, and that ethical practice, the observation of our morality, will really ensure our rebirth within the higher realms in the future. It is therefore there's this in the text that we find the actual cause of getting a rebirth within the higher realm is not other than the observation of moral discipline. So therefore, we are the followers. His Holiness always said the followers of the Avalokiteshvara. So we follow this discipline even right from our childhood, that we are practiced, and we train ourselves, abstaining ourselves, or the refraining ourselves from engaging in negative deeds such as taking life and so on. So we have actually observed quite a good amount of moral discipline. So we will have a better rebirth, or rebirth within the higher realms in our future life. This is what I share with him.
다 등조야지 이제샤 나가 저기 소소게 간 대랑도 같이 제거이나 다 카야라이 대랑제 최정 대랑제이나 아니 지 매개 제봉의 수준 강성 투도지 다 진센다 데미고는서 이제 다 주지 맞지 세대 다 주지 저저저저서 지 매년 받지 단지나 이게 저심한 동행이 그 대사단으로 사제고야나 아니 매개 제봉의 수준 강성도도 지성 아니 뒤가나 아니 매개 주봉이 추천선은 뭐도 사도 매 고고 타나야 단다데 집에 지장래 아니 세대라 샤자 뒤지 풍부데 냥도래 예 친제라 Ngenju Shangju Sen Yang Tabi Tawa Kase Yana Yang, Ko Shata Dejegi Nipa de Zosona, and Ko Neso Tobare Mato, Jes Kemindu Sene, then Ngenju Che, and then Shangju is saying thank you, but and Shangju Sen and Ngenju is Shangju Sen and Ngenju to the Maso Jatapa issue, Sigi Tona, Qua, that and they in Sangichirwa. Then the depot the day in Sangi, you so thank you, but you tono Lola, Karala Lo, that she, there's a Mibadi Jene. But Yang on the Jamato Nayo, get de rare song and Jiki Soso the Tirava, Mandamas and Washibado Jene, and Nenju Shanchu Sanje among Nenjoje, and then Shanchu Sanje, and then that Shanchu sent and Nenju Yubeton the Takaran over Nenju Shanchu sent a Casekona, and Shine the Laton sang it Mel Gogoji no Coraja dead Gemato, Santa de la Gate to Mare Sangi, Yan Tendriki Densechi Sena, Shene de Laton Shule and Doegi, and Nanu Sai Chendo, Kundrin and Dotonchera.
So now for us, we have to ensure or assure that we will, look for a way that we can, have a better life, better rebirth within the high realms in our future life. And this will be done on the basis of observation of 10 virtuous actions and abandoning 10 non-virtuous actions. And at least we should refrain from engaging in 10 non-virtuous actions by observing 10 virtuous actions. It is not just by saying what someone has said that this is a vow that we need to observe, but we need to, our observation of those vows of the 10 virtuous actions is based on reasoning. So when one is able to, if one is able to observe those 10 virtuous actions, refraining from 10 non-virtuous actions, and this will become a substantial cause for giving rise to a rebirth within the high realms. So now, on that basis, now just by obtaining high rebirth is sufficient. If you were to ask this question, and that is not. We then need to, on the basis of obtaining this high rebirth, we need to engage in the practice of renunciations. Then the renunciation is will be followed by the practice of bodhicitta, and then bodhicitta is followed by the practice of special insight, which is the wisdom realizing emptiness. So these are not just unjustified or unjustified statement, but rather it is through one's own experience. Whatever that we talked about, renunciations or the bodhicitta and so on and so forth, it should be obtained, and this should be practiced. And by practicing, one should have a strong aspiration to have these realizations, an actualization of renunciations, bodhicitta and so on. And this will then eventually take us to the actualization of the special insight, the ultimate nature of reality.
Combat the Yard, Gentlemen, Dele Tower, Jago to say there are. Course and let the new morning in such a chassis, and let the new morning in such a chat and la touch magic chinchilla, and combat the region, the deck chinchilla, Kangin, Medusing, Loshu Chimbochi Lebicola, Ninsek the Tabatini Lose, and Lebicola, and Ninjon, Senaroa. Course it is sure to Emendua.
So now here, when speaking about renunciations, in order to practice and perfect one's practice, the perfect one's practice of renunciation, one must understand the nature of cyclic existence, or or the samsaric existence. So think about, as long as you have taken rebirth within this cyclic existence, derived by one's karma and affective emotions, the affections. Affective emotions and karmas are the connector of oneself with the cyclic existence. So how do we break the chain of this cycle of taking rebirth within the cyclic existence? May I be able to break this chain, and in whatever I can, to the fullest extent of my ability, I will do so to be able to break the chain of cycle of existence, or the samsaric existence, from the day and night. If you have this kind of aspiration, genuine aspiration for both day and night, then that is the point that you have actually generated or the actualized renunciation. 10 minutes break.
So make 주봉이 추천 야보지 소원이나 다른 것좀 대로 하다 미고 혼세된 것좀 빼자와 있는 다니게 나와나 게 되게 세대기 풍부되는 지한상 말이 가세이나 변전내다 야보 영역 쪽에 콤바 가시시도 사제 가시시도 나기로 수 먹게 주봉이 추천 야보지 소 되지는 이제는 페마도 뇌미생이 매지나 아니 세대기 풍부 도와라 개개 항상 말이 아니 대량가서 빼잖아요. 소소 제내다 야보여서나 아니 콤바드 사자 가시지 넣어주어나 이래 하다미 고방 가 내내데 차로라.
So here now, observing this 10 ethical disciplines, which is common to all of us, is very, very important. 10 morality, it's a very important. And because, with this, by observing this 10 morality, observing this 10 moral discipline, one will be able to have a rebirth within the high realms, whether Deva realms or human realms or demigod realms and so forth. Wherever one longs to take a rebirth, one will be able to do so if one is able to observe this 10 moralities. Just as I mentioned earlier, that our body is like a guest house. We have to leave this later or sooner. Just like it's for someone who is the wealthy individuals, they can go anywhere. If they leave their resident house in one place and they wanted to go somewhere else, and they can go and have another place where they can build house or buy house and so on. In same manners, as long as you have a wealth of observing this 10 virtuous actions and or the 10 virtuous morality, the 10 morality, in other words, you have this wealth. Wherever you want to go, you will have a good body or the good aggregates within this high realms.
다 주변 총액이 나온 전에 주변 총액이 타자 타투들의 미유대로와 다 주변 총액의 규모이랑 계제시나 주변 첨부지게네 랑신 선전 단지기 된잖아 하다면 고반지 마타나 아니 가사 랑신이 된데 제투고 말어와 인사데 주변 총 규모 많이 받아 주변 총액의 규모이 아니 냥래 쟁이 인가게 네바도 제거에 지제
So this is actually the achievement of rebirth within high rebirth, within the high realms, is the actual objective of the practitioner or practitioners of the small scope. However, when someone, even though who are under middling scopes, who would like to work for the welfare of other sentient beings, it can only be done on the basis of taking rebirth within the high realms as a human body and so forth, so that he or she can effectively work for the welfare of other sentient beings. And this can also be said the common practice or the common path of the both small scope as well as the middling scopes or the great scopes.
다 바로 이바기 연주기 삼바세 윤베가라 라다 옛날에 메옛날에 코아들 저원린 진짜라 단다데 집에 제장에 그때도 되었으니 개민도 거의 저와지 레드 녀모 인상지 자친절하고 잡민주의 주요 소차디 잡민주의 레비지마도 로사민도 인자네 딘주기 레드 녀모기 아니 레버세네레 레드 녀모니 버들 때도 마데나 더 진민도 상해지기 아니 로데 란텔레 포네 아니 다 텔레타와지 맞아는 지금 민도 상이 고슈 첨버지 말해 봐도 연주기 선별 해기 말해 아니 주베 중에 팀모아지 팀모 많이 봐 자고 말해 주베 중에다 팀모 주변 전다 팀모이라 자고 말어 되게 반응이 받텔라 산나치 땅 내가 갈라서나 내가 단지 냐네 제투비 개참해 봐지 아니 로마라 라니기 인치미지 슈트지 제투고 살아이바.
So this is how we should, we should design ourselves, or we should be able to practice in an orderly manner, such as having taken rebirth within the high realms, observing 10 moralities and so on, and this will then be lead oneself to the practice of renunciations and generating renunciations and so on. So now, when it comes to the practice of renunciations, now just having rebirth within the high realms alone is not sufficient, and this kind of sense of urgency should be present in one's own mind, one's own stream of being, because so long as we have taken rebirth within this cyclic existence, connected by our karma and and affections, we will not be able to find the actual happiness or the ultimate state of happiness. So now, regardless of where you have taken a rebirth, as long as you are taken rebirth within this cyclic existence, there will be always a chaos, something that is, undesirable situations or circumstances will be bound to happen to us. We are bound to go through this kind of experiences. So now you should have a strong motivations or the strong aspiration to get rid of this karma and negative state of mind or the afflictions for the purpose of achieving liberations, so that one become a completely disenchanted with regard to cyclic life, the life of cyclic existence.
다 된대로 딱 연주기 삼발에 영화한테 태용 비거라 다 깨지장에 되서 매박이 될렘 도네마든 지사 말에 상이 뭐 슈점 발레 비거라 라니 배나 나서 배르지 장에나 배나 너무 쭈르 진양도 예비거라 다진 깨지장에 대미도기 나지노라라 손아들 레비거라 소소 실로 총로제 너무 강가 되는 자샤나 메들 손아 간지여래로.
So when you have these renunciations, that you become so disenchanted by looking at the situation of the cyclic existence, then you will have not even a one fraction of desire to live even a 1 second or the minute or the second in this cycle existence. When you have this, then it is not just sufficient just to think that myself, you become so completely disenchanted, and you wanted to be get out of this situation and get out of this boundary. And then if you think that you alone want to get out of this boundary, it's not actually appropriate. Just like if you have a family of 10 family members, and you feel the place you are in is not suitable at all. It is something always, it always gives us some kind of traumas and so on and so forth. And you wanted to be free from this kind of place. Then if you just free yourself, if you live only by yourself, leaving all other siblings or your relatives on that terrible place, do you think that is appropriate?
Shangchu Sango be Jinsentera Dang at the Shiva. The Driggy Soso Gen Kejits and Dev Mutusig Netela, and Ranji Saint Yos Zoba de Net Richila, De Doba Tongi Tongela, and Soso Chico Pandong Della, and the Jubichungi Humoma Ibaroa. That Shangchu Saint at the Sogi Jinsen Pata Saint Yos Zoba in Netanji Tongi Bicola, any Jene, any Nijichambo Chess and Shangchu Sanchez and so
here, the point I'm making here is the importance of generating bodhicitta here. Because seeking a liberation for oneself is the mere objective of the practitioner of the middle scope. So now it is for us, we should not be complacent of just having practice of middle scope and freeing oneself from cyclic existence. Just as we ourselves do not want to live in the cyclic existence for even one moment. And so too all other beings. Why the reason why we want to why we become so disenchanted in this cyclic existence is by looking at the situation, by understanding the nature of this cyclic existence. So similarly, although those other beings who are not aware of this nature of the cyclic existence, but they are all going through those experiences of chaoses and so forth. So therefore, now, not only that I want to be free or I wanted to get out of this cyclic existence, but two, I should also establish all beings or free all beings from this boundary. This is the kind of motivation that we should have.
Central China Chene, and the Namuche de Yandola and Tachi in the Shantu Senji, the Pichunjana. That Jitan Jambe, any Tombo, any near Namuche de any Devachi Loco, any Najel in Wayne Sala. Any Masu Jebota be sent to Tandaki Yontachi and Shantu Senji, any Tombo Rani, any Sanjay Salalene, any Dene, any Tanda Namuche de Tongetela Jovi City, that Jensen. Did Masu Jebota be sent it, sent it to Jabal Sedi, Tanda Nomache to combat in all of a kitchen and Demetung Giana, Gangan to Shishana Gubason Jiroa. That Toshi the Zebicola, Tombo Soso Tabache, Soso Tane, Nomakan Jagi, Taki do now, that they check about it, but Jensenta Debaroa. Masu Jebota be sent it at the Shivaroa. This is the Nazogi, Shinjuji Majere Mado, Nietzsche shoot Chatachinata, Lugin a Tom to the Legachat of the Redwa.
So king-like bodhicitta is somewhat to say the supreme bodhicitta. This is the supreme among all other bodhicittas. Such bodhicitta is actually practiced and generated by the Manjushri, the kinglet bodhicitta. The kinglet bodhicitta is that by understanding the situation of all other beings, cyclic, all the beings who have taken rebirth within the cyclic existence, forced by karma and afflictions, and understanding their situations, I must do whatever I could to free all beings from this cyclic existence. When such aspiration is generated, this will then lead individual to put in effort to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. Having gained state of complete enlightenment for oneself, one then will be able to effectively work for the other sentient beings, to free other sentient beings from the cyclic existence. And this is the practice, is what we call is the king-like bodhicitta.
Tendriki nga tso namu chile pe shawa nangshi ki ini roha sanche tangchi namu nangi kante chagwa rasa na jiao hanshi kecha xe na da ba namu nangi namu roha chabi te jisen da denpa re ma do tahatsi ma re ta di kecha mi shewa te tanda nga tso zambalin digi netan xe so ayi na ji saya de tonyan roya yonsu zoba de ji le ji ten ji men de ji de me tungi ki netan ji re do tendriki di soso la ke pen tongpo yi na soso tele jiao le bro Then I get another de la Besach, de to the Vagin, but you put Koyon Shu, you have to get the mobile shoe, you tinge timber at then, and then must teach you to.
So it is therefore one should treat all sentient beings as one's own family member. It is worthwhile. That is authentic reason. Why should we treat all sentient beings as one's own, family member? Because as a Buddhist, that we strongly believe in all beings, that we have not all. There's not even one single being who had not been one's own mother in the past. So therefore, in this perspective, it is worthwhile to consider all other sentient beings as one's own family members. So now, not only that, but also if you think about not talking about one's own, beings have been one's own mothers in the past life and so on, but also if you think of the situation of this world, well, the connectedness of all other sentient beings, one another in this world, thinking about the food and shelter and clothing that we have, all these are our necessities that we have acquired is all dependent upon others. Without depending upon others, we have not been able to be able to have our needs, our daily needs are really dependent upon others. It is not something that we acquire without depending upon others, independently by oneself.
Tendriki shu chine nga tso pede supondiki tsone chiko la sana tonga chigo ma chigo shepa ki dechi yen la tenne tsone yo barwa nga tso ndo uchi sachan dende la pene tanda nga tso di nga de la nga chiko ndi chi dewa yena chisa kashi denye chogo marwa kesi dewa yena la bichi ta nyama kashi dene chi jana sosa ranshi jago yo do ta lomba dali chiko na sosa chiko te ma jine leso na chichi malo da Zenda ba yushe da mezon jile mezon chenpo je kongpa de chenpo shui je so jikwa la de be kala ko samba jibo mendo jiza karale ku yi deji yi shi yu zubo de yi deji de jen la ten yo ba ma se nan ji shibi ni chowa yi deji de yang ni jen la ten yo ba de ma to no ye ne tsiran le do zenda ba yushe gang yi shu che be kala yan la ji so cha sha de shu de yo na so la robo pen se de
So not only that our physical needs and our physical comforts are dependent upon others, but also our mental happiness is dependent upon others, other beings. For instance, just think about that. Just imagine that if you are alone in this vast land, in the wilderness, what will happen to us? What kind of feelings that you may have being all by oneself in the wilderness? You may decided to commit suicide because all by oneself. So that really entails that our happiness, or very physical and mental comfort is really dependent upon others.
Temena Karichagore, Mazona joined the Moncha Karasan, any Nomo saying the Kate Chagore, say she will be color, any Nomo Kate Changi, any the Gandu Chene, any the Jensen Sanatone, Kate Chagor Della, any Jensen Sanatone, sent it, thank you, but you be $10, any Samba Tempo Jungo will say color, any Shenet, any Shenegi, thank you, but you have color, any Takate Jasa the Karajan city, any not so terminating is only the Nomo saying there is. You say that dancing the Meposo go to the Tandala, any Dameto be share of the Sego, the Salabi color, and you log it about the Tata.
So now just having a wishful thinking of freeing other beings from this cyclic existence alone was not going to free other beings. It's not automatically free other sentient beings from the cyclic existence. One will not be able to benefit other sentient beings. Just having wishful thinking, or just having a sense of caring or sense of connectedness alone. Now, what we need to do here to think about is now, in order to work for the welfare of other sentient beings, to active by cultivating this sense of caring and sense of connectedness with other sentient beings, I must first address my negative thoughts and emotions, which is defilements or mental reflections. And this can be done on the basis of practice and meditating. It is through meditations one will be able to, it is through sustained meditations one will be able to achieve what we call the calm abiding or the shamatha. And when one's calm abiding is perfected, then one will be able to actualize wisdom realizing emptiness or wisdom realizing selflessness that serve as a direct remedy towards our affections.
Tony Gambi such a kali to Gango Setania Tomaton Tendrese, Tanamaso Le Tombo Senere, Tanamaso, Cello Java in the Tamaso Kaja, Lojagi non Colamato, says General Gusha is Kayamani. And then Toman the Suso, your lord, the Chanso Chipa Punch, but Jitsa Sona, and in one egg, long Yanagi, Rimbal, and Gotsumena, Yoma Turne, and the Chichilla drossing it, the Shirakabura. Inside Tinchi Girenla. And then go pen a shiny things in there, give me bus and you ten over then rogores and ya punchy drits has on any so energy Roland, new Montana, you so you chavachene, and it come on arts chilla, and it John Rochucher Tawi, and it's sunny de come on arts chilla, and enjoy Shanju, and it's sunny come on arts chilla, and Shanju is and then you the Tony to the law, and it but Tony and attack on Shenagin. Nyanyu de lo the Panji, and it then a lot of Panji dinner, numerous la Kama, Nats ya Tubeti Tane, and it Yashochana, and the Shanya tents in the Sonju Pata, but all Shudi Chen and Yamanimala, Kamachanga, Sijilama, Nyanyu, the Senare, Jimadene, 로토 나는 방치 되네. 지 사제들을 해비서는 천원지 여러 저이나 뭐네 delala 제자다 개개 다른 맞춰 되면 제대로 해서 말아.
So we need to arrange those practices within our mind in a very orderly manner. Because in this, we as a human beings taken rivet with its human existence. Our limit of our lifespan is 100 years. Maybe live a little bit more than that, but most of us, I don't think we will live more than 100 years. It is just 100 years of our life. So within this lifespan, we need to come up with the idea of how we can arrange those practice in an orderly manner. Take our time. Let's say, today I'll take 5 minutes to engage in the practice of taking refuge in 3 joules. And then next day, tomorrow, I will be taking 5 more minutes. Again, 5 minutes, sorry, to engage in the practice of generating renunciations. And similarly, the next day, I will take 5 minutes to engage in the practice of bodhicitta. And this will then followed by the practice of the process of practicing shamatha, and then practice of special insight, or the wisdom realizing selflessness, or the wisdom realizing emptiness. So this is how we should be able to, as we have gone through the studies of the great deities and the stages of the path to enlightenment, we should be able to arrange this. We should be able to, plan all of those practices in a very orderly manner, beginning from proper reliance upon the spiritual master, all the way to the state of unity.
네, 단지 대세워다. 신이 댄스네 멀리 손주 받아 동보 이샤제다 파운드네 찬송받아 지도인데 인데 이세 차트 지도. 아니 많이 오네니 정도는 거 주고야나 정도 됐을 시간. 아니 지 가와다 좋아된데 데메바네 파자나. 아니 그 벤히죠 찾아라. 아니 니니죠 선들에 자 거야때 거로 아마 주중나 나가들 자도 아니 대 선이 메기 정도 때 대린 제사에나요. 선이 간제 정도 내세네리 신이 된세네 이제 받을라 로토는 방지지 아니 까마마치 대사텔라 아니 가성이 상상 관리가 되지 아니 방지내야지 로신제 아니 바 창소 받으러서나 아니 삼발로 좋아하는 데면은 되지마 되네 아니 상주게 산단지시 도노람 지 오른도 지 받던 미기게 통하여 뭐냐면 삼바데 쉬어만 받대서서는 되지 차와이나 아니 소소 삼바 자체를 오래 삼바 지를 용으로 창소되려도.
So this is how we should do. First one should be able to encapsulate those teachings in an orderly manner within one's mind, beginning from proper reliance upon spiritual master all the way to the state of unity. Once you're able to have those in one's mind, in a proper in an orderly manner, then when it comes to actual practice, then one should take a time, dividing one's time, beginning from the first day. I would practice in taking refuge in 3 joules. I'll practice refuge, and then next day I would practice renunciation, bodhicitta, shamatha, and wisdom realizing emptiness, and so forth. Because it is important, before we go through those practices, the sequence of practices, it is important for one to have the overall understanding of or the contents of the teachings of the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment.
Tene tendre ko le le so na ne ya ji che de ne da che de ji da mo go cha ne ji ga ne la nge jo te ka sa ji ne de nge jo ke sa ba ta ga bi ka la ne ji shin re de ji de je rang ge de je na ka la ne ba ta mo ye me ji ha rang ge ge na mo ye ji sa na re la ma de mo ye ji sa mo ye me de cha ne ma ne chen go re ji da an de la me ji de se me ja ge ma la ja yang 돈이 돈을 때 그걸로 인 잡아야라고 제. 양 제가 같이 저기 걸로 양. 지 매수비 된다라는 하 친구를 이제 장 아니 담아들라니 지 선제장랑 공화도 변화 여고 지전에. 아니 된주에 지금 메시지 제토나 다 된지 마도 제 가서 개탄사 말아. 도바 란지를 전에 냐뉴스 개탄도사 말해.
So this is how the practice should be. For us as ordinary practitioners, those kind of practice will become a practical and effective for us. For instance, now let's talk about when we are engaging in the practice of meditating on compassion, and sometimes it is also good for us to become one's meditation on compassion effective. It is also appropriate to visualize Avalokiteshvara, inseparable from one's own guru, and by meditating on compassion in conjunction with the visualization of one's visualization of Avalokiteshvara with the inseparable from one's own guru, and then recite the mantra of 6-syllable mantras, the 6-syllable mantra. Sometimes those are the practice that really help us. Similarly, when one is engaging in the practice or meditating on emptiness, one should visualize Manjushri, inseparable from one's guru, and then recite the mantras. And then then this will then be followed by the dedication of one's merits. And if one is able to do such practice in our day-to-day life, then for us as ordinary practitioner, we are making our life meaningful and purposeful. And this is this really enriched our spiritual life. So given this is the last teachings of the year, and also the last, the end of month's teaching, and if you have questions, I will take a couple of questions. If not, then I'm going to go through the little, I'll share the little light on again, proper practice of dedications and so on.
I don't have a question, Rinpoche, but I want to take the opportunity to thank you because you've been teaching us Lam Rim for so many years. And you've been so patient and wonderful about this. And I know for myself, I'm not a very good practitioner, but I'm trying. And you have been quite a guiding light. And so I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. And also Nima for your wonderful translations, which make all of this possible.
Mixage and Kora, Jomes, Gudu, Jomes, in Rimchelia, Tarati, Coca Pinche, Rimchelia, and the Lomangujian got the Lam Rim Quenima, and about the left the any that Sosoyanchi, Yamlemba, Sedenji the Marte, in Benele, Sosota, the chick Trevor, the Devianic Jeja. Some you make out in the rangi, Tavacha, Coca, the Remission Rangi, Cadin, and Sonsa, and Remichelia, Nintabani, to Shishuli and Sonto.
Casual of the Lamaza. Again, the mother Teratamaza. Simon, Then nge katu koso jorochi. Tanda nga somi ye yung chemo ye rishi jabu kala ta keju ge nyama dogo je mena da nga chogo jasa mare shinye to samare. Degi ma je sozo ma je shedi ma poba de je ne keju ya ta. Deba je sharochi. Chichi me sha.
Rinpoche is just praising me, but the text it contains a large, vast amount of the teachings of the Buddha. I think it actually encapsulates the entire teachings of the Buddha. And so if he is unable to find a right translator, he will not confident to give these teachings. But I don't know. I'm the right person to translate, but I'm doing my best. I take myself as opportunity to receive the teachings from Rinpoche, but I don't take it myself as someone who is, translating for such a great teacher. But I take this as my own, opportunity to receive the teachings from him. Yeah, that's what
Tā ngā tsōn dēro wā, tā tūsē nīmā rō jī lē, tā ngā jē chūgī nō lō lō sō sō pāt nī tsū nē, chūgī mā shācān rē jī mā rāngtān rē jī yī, bā mā gōngshīk rō jī yī bā chō lā bā nī bā chēmbā tē trē tū gu mī ndō wā, mā tō chū bā tāmbā tā sō, nē bā chē tsī jī jī nyā bā tsēn chō lā bā hā lē yī bā sā nā chēmbā tsū nā gu dō wā, tā chūgī tē yī kār sā de rangilen june digi ne pa thamba de rangilen nyanyo yona ani phasyo de la digi je ji de cheba zanji de sona chambo shuji ba gi sona de yoto do.
So here the great beings of the past, those great beings who have given these teachings, in other words, the experiential teachings, then even the listeners, as soon as they listen to that teachings, and they can have very special feelings by means of receiving the teachings from this, an experienced teacher. So this really happens, when at the moment, even when they are giving teachings on any topics, that really becomes a condition for, giving rise to some kind of, peace of mind that really gives whenever we encounter or whenever we have an opportunity to receive the teachings from the experienced teacher.
아니 텐소 서버 장진의 시바 시보 세번제마 가사 시바 시보 세번 줬어다. 세대 그 선한 정보지 메어이나 나쪽이 단다 되게 지 용청벌의 특성 재생인데 상쪽이 센터서 지 특성 재생에 된 거네 용거여서 말로 왔다데 추어코는 단지 러버 나기게 추의 냥내 영에 뜻이게 지 펜사로지 지 메도 나센로지 통들마도 맞춰로 있는 직감부 이비가를 대단지 천원도 네, 오마지 잡아 있었는데, 아니 동반이 이게 되나, 아니 선나 중에도 생이 터바상 요거 말이, 아니 터바상지 요로잖아, 텐소상지 요거만, 텐소상지 사로잖아요. 아니 단제 대시고 차거를 son도. 된저기 선나도 어디 소소나 지 좋아다 그 여반도 오지 소소 뽑아펴야로 제 용초보다.
So particularly when one is engaging in the practice of meditating or meditation practice on bodhicitta, this should really gives us a wonderful feeling, which becomes a tool or the instrument for transforming one's own toxic mind. So this is something that we are very fortunate, and that really proves us that there is the merits that we also have, some amount of merits that we have accumulated It is because of our merits that we're able to receive these teachings on bodhicittas and receive the teachings on wisdom realizing emptiness. Because according to the Aryadeva in his 400 stanza, where he has stated that those who have no merits, even though they hear the teachings of the emptiness, they will not even have a doubt of emptiness, let alone that they have aspiration to know about emptiness, but they will not even have a doubt. But even if you have, even though that you have, one is not able to understand or ascertain the emptiness, but even if you have, doubt with regard to emptiness, there's such called emptiness has existed or not. Just having this doubt alone is a result of one's accumulation of merits, because having doubt of emptiness will shiver. It will shiver our grasping at self.
가서 방 뒤투바 나기 로라 냥냥데 사네 아니 배찬나로 소마 나기 송주주 거방 아니 다 다시 손들 제 비싼다래 아니 라운지 내고서 다시 손들 엔 제벌라이네 추수지 거니 사나래 가제 던저게 멜로게 송주 사나래 때 고봉마데 아니 영원히도 터니 바 신절라도서 아니 말 라니 타바시 아니 대전도 네 신라양 타바쇼 네 던저게 타바대요 근데는 슈베나마나지 네 영원히도 더 신절라도서 사나 네 뭐하다 뭐하지다
To our dedications, by means of engaging in this practice and receiving the teachings of the great deities and the stages of the path enlightenment, beginning from practice of proper reliance upon one spiritual teacher, all the way to the state of unity, and in other words, the resultant state, which is the state of Dharmakaya and the Rupakayas. May those state of unity of Dharmakaya and Rupakaya, may I be able to achieve this state as soon as possible, not only myself, but also may I be able to establish all other sentient beings to the state of unity. May all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions to place me to be able to do this.
Sanje jendo me de be wa ro ge na do xin lo zhe bo shu che wa ge do ya do na ma de me che je be la lo xue jin sa da na je yan de ro zo do je chang ge go bo ya do shu ye dong gu ru na men zhe na ga na ya da ya mi Kada yamba ganshe zaba de lo mi mare ke don ro na ren ja ye ombo da je ji de ma su be se ro ke do jambe yang je ze ye je zo ne de be re ba ke san na je年年周边见那年些肉，让给之间多别那些，修着在外张面到给人，若夜夜就明白这些，家也担保有人人就见，担保人间就给马脚。家家娘把这边说的呢，你就千百一人就把。 别的塞瓦西瓦修，世间教育民众听的，列祖上求郎就人别讲，常的郎就一郎别的心，教育自保人都讲究经。朗诵主编听经主席经，阅经世界莫当明明君，切罗君多教育莫不言，朗当者我莫就见，公子太保出了就是见，最近住了尊宝地狱财，土地能就大都主席经。这些政策中，有些就是那面国财绕点睛，能够成的说着结果道，罗松定比正面撒松节，昼夜面色道。练就节，光手绕月过于心光，偏当帝王毛利永远。现人在往定人叫作业，交别人的报，练就节，交别抱怨知道钱不到，更多让我这样的现的。别到跟着结束道路去，给我的道当街绕多么，就算西边叫我当街去，我光了就多么不的，大千个月早晚的跟着，从不学习绕多么。怎么样？行，多钱了吗？